Hi, I'm Caden, here with my brother,
Cal,
and you're watching Eating W's.
eat the W.
That's a W. Let's eat one. Let's eat one. That's a W.
On today's episode of Eating W's, we are back after a good little 2-week hiatus of nothing football-wise with a pretty fun episode. We have our NFL 2023 hot takes. But before we jump into those hot takes, we got a few pieces of news that it's pretty sad that this is all the news that really built up over 2 weeks, but we're just at that point of the season. It's always dead during the off season.
Starting to make that turn back around though now. With a little bit of news, now it's starting to work its way back up.
Yep, and training camps right around the corner starting this week, I believe, as well.
Some this week and then the rest of them next week.
So we should have some fun episodes coming up here. Speaking of that news, we'll fly through that quick, starting with an extension. The Jags signed tight end Evan Ingram to a 3-year, $41 million extension. So good for Evan Ingram to get paid. When he got drafted by the Giants, those Giants fans were brutal to him. They all called him a bust after like one season, but it's hard to jump in to be a good tight end, especially a good athletic tight end. So I'm happy to see him finally kind of settle in somewhere.
Yeah, it's weird. These Giants receiving first round picks that go other places and seem to have success, similar to Kadarius Toney in Kansas City.
And all the fans hate him. That's the one consistent right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then next up, the huge bit of news from the past 2 weeks. DeAndre Hopkins is signing a 2-year deal worth up to $32 million with incentives with the Tennessee Titans. Not a pick that I necessarily like. Reasons will be talked about later. But I guess he likes it. He got paid. That could be a good offense with Derrick Henry and DeAndre Hopkins now, but we'll have to see how that actually plays out on the field.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good pickup for Tennessee. They get a big downfield threat for whether it's Tannehill or the quarterback they selected.
Will Levis.
Or
Malik Willis. They also took Malik Willis.
I kept thinking Malik Willis, but I knew they took Will Levis also. So whichever quarterback's out there, it will be a good receiving target for him. It just depends on if he can stay healthy all year.
Yep. And then keeping it in Tennessee for this week's edition, or I guess at this point it's a reoccurring update because there just seems to be a new one every week.
Yep.
But for our NFL Dumb Criminal of the Week this week, we have Hassan Haskins, the backup Tennessee Titan running back behind Derrick Henry, who was arrested for aggravated assault by strangulation on his girlfriend on June 30th. So it happened a while ago, but of course we haven't been having episodes since June 30th. So he's our dumb criminal of the week this week. We'll see if he goes to jail because there's a pretty good chance he does.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation. Again, you see this too often in the NFL with these guys, but he'll probably be released soon and most likely have some legal trouble and have a long road back to the NFL if he even gets back there.
And the weirdest part is he might get a shorter suspension than most of the players did for gambling. So there's the real fun part about the NFL.
At least he didn't put a $25 bet on the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. So.
Exactly. I mean, that's the wheel of suspensions for you in full case in point right there. So now we'll move on to our hot takes. Just a quick little definition. A hot take, of course, is something that is definitely off the wall and kind of out of left field, but definitely has a chance to happen. So I'll let Callan start it off.
And with my first hot take for the season, I believe that Bijan Robinson, the running back for the Atlanta Falcons, will have MVP consideration this year with the Falcons running back. And I believe that will happen because not only were they the leading rushing team last year in the NFL, but they are built around that rushing team this year, and they drafted another superstar running back who's probably, in my opinion, might be the best player to come out of the draft this year. So it'll be interesting to see how well he performs, but I believe that he definitely could play that way into MVP consideration for the year.
Yeah, he's probably the most intriguing running back prospect since Saquon Barkley back in 2018, and Saquon Barkley had a hell of a rookie year, so no reason to think that Bijan Robinson won't. He's definitely set up for success. We'll just have to see if they can actually get it done there in Atlanta. So for my first hot take, I have a rookie as well. I have the fact that I think Houston Texans second overall pick, CJ Stroud, will not only have a better record than, but also have better stats and perform better than Carolina Panthers first overall pick, Bryce Young. I think that Bryce Young is a little more NFL ready, but I just think that CJ Stroud has that accuracy, he has that poise that Bryce Young doesn't have, and I just think, which this is just as crazy to say as anything, that the Houston Texans have a better overall roster right now than the Carolina Panthers.
I agree.
And one specific matchup that I think, or not matchup, but connection rather, that I think we'll see a lot of is rookie to rookie with CJ Stroud to Houston wide receiver Tank Nathaniel Dells, who they picked up in the 3rd round, the Houston Texans did. I think that's going to be a lethal connection early in those two's career.
Yeah, and another, star that they picked up is Robert Woods, who I think they'll have another big connection with and be that veteran leadership for the team. And that's a big pickup, I think, for the Texans, who, like you said, have the better team overall. So I do think that that's a very possible thing to happen.
Certainly.
Oh, yeah, for my second take now, I believe that not only will the Green Bay Packers quarterback Jordan Love will have better statistical year than Aaron Rodgers in New York. And I believe that because not only is this team better, have more younger weapons around it, but it's a better offensive line than the Jets. And that's the key there, is that they'll have better protection of Jordan Love than the Jets will with in New York.
Interesting. I mean, you do definitely have the better offensive, I won't even say definitely. You probably do have the better offensive line, but the Jets' offensive line is young, but I think they might have a pretty good season. Those weapons, though, especially compared to the weapons in New York, I don't know.
You don't think so?
It's actually funny because we were not together when we made these picks, and we are totally flip-flop from what you would think it would be. Because moving straight into my second prediction, I have that Aaron Rodgers will have an MVP caliber season and will make a Super Bowl run in his first year in New York, but then never play well again and never see the playoffs again. I think that he'll go into New York. He has all these fun new weapons. He has a young developing offensive line. I think he's going to play really well, and I don't think he goes to the Super Bowl, but I could see maybe even some AFC championship, some in there, at least a divisional round appearance for the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers. But then I don't think he will ever be able to recreate that and will end up retiring, never seeing the playoffs again. I think this because history repeats itself, and you got to look at some of the other quarterbacks that have done it. Brett Favre spent a year in New York, but then he went to Minnesota, went to the NFC Championship game, lost that, never saw the playoffs again. Peyton Manning went to Denver and had one of the best years of his career, broke the passing touchdown record, went to the Super Bowl, got smoked in the Super Bowl, but then the next year, ironically, won the Super Bowl, but just played terrible, looked awful. And then Brady went to Tampa Bay just most recently, won a Super Bowl in his first year there in Tampa, and then made playoff appearances, but really was just never the same player and never played that well again. So why not see one more MVP or a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback take that path?
I think he'll be the opposite. I think he'll just have a flat year coming out. I think he'll have no playoff appearance. He'll have a terrible statistical year. And I think that the Packers have the better team because of their young duo. Their young wide receiver duo with Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs, and the veteran running backs of Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon compared to the younger running backs of Breece Hall and Michael Carter.
Yeah, the New York Jets are a very young offense all around. O-line, backfield, wide receiving corps, everywhere they're young, except for that quarterback position.
Except for the quarterback position. And it was those championship games were always where Rodgers struggled at. So if he gets to another one, that would be pretty wild. But for my third take, I don't think that'll happen because I believe that the Green Bay Packers will have a better record overall than the New York Jets this year. And I know I'm kind of Packer heavy on this one, on this episode, but I really believe that this is going to be a magical season for Green Bay because no one's talking about them. In fact, most people are doubting them and really putting a lot of negativity towards them. But that team has a lot of belief and a lot of confidence in Jordan Love, and a lot of players really want to play hard for him. And that can make a lot of difference when you have a whole team continuously take it together there and form that chemistry.
We talk about it all the time. We love heart. Heart can win you football games. Heart can beat out skill. You see it every day. And in fact, you just saw it last year. Look at the way people were absolutely begging on Geno Smith, Drew Lock, and the entirety of the Seattle Seahawks. Everyone doubted them. No one thought they were going to do anything. Everyone was on the Broncos hype train. And then the Broncos played terrible. The Jets in this situation with you. And the Seahawks ended up making a playoff appearance, and Geno Smith had the best season of his career far and away, and a pretty damn good season overall. Who would be the Packers in your case scenario? So I just talked about history repeating itself. I'm going to talk about history repeating itself in a second here. Let's see if history can repeat itself in your spot.
Another common denominator there, Nathaniel Hackett.
Ew. That's not
he
a
was,
good.
He was in Denver. He was in Denver for the collapse of Russell Wilson. Now he'll be in New York for the collapse of Aaron Rodgers.
That's not a good common denominator to have. That's
No.
a bad one.
Nope.
And then for my final hot take, I have one about some news that we just talked about very recently here. I think that DeAndre Hopkins will do absolutely terrible in Tennessee because Tennessee is where wide receivers go to die. Bring back up the history books. Talk about history repeating itself again. Throughout the short history of the Tennessee Titans, they only became a team in like the late 90s, I think, maybe even early 2000s.
Well, they were the Houston Oilers that moved to Tennessee.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true. But they've had Randy Moss at the age of 33 go to Tennessee and do absolutely nothing. They had Andre Johnson after his career in Houston at the age of 35 go to Tennessee and do absolutely nothing. And then in just the past 2 years, they had Julio Jones at the age of 33 go to there from Atlanta and do not good. And then they had Robert Woods at the age of 30 go there and play really bad for an entire season and just not really put up the stats they expected. So I don't know why they think that they can go out and grab 31-year-old DeAndre Hopkins and change that, because that's just not the team they are. I don't think it's anything against Tennessee as a team. I don't think it's anything against DeAndre Hopkins. It's just wide receivers and the Tennessee Titans don't go together because of a man named Derrick Henry in the backfield. And it's just plain as that.
And one thing about it, especially in the recent years with Julio Jones and Robert Woods, and now this year with DeAndre Hopkins, is he's going to have Ryan Tannehill at quarterback, which I don't know. I mean, you have three of these superstar wide receivers come in. They all have subpar years. Your common denominator, again, word of the day this year, or this episode, is Ryan Tannehill. So at what point is it the quarterback's fault that wide receivers aren't performing, or is it the wide receivers that aren't clicking with the quarterback? I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see if one of the younger quarterbacks, whether it be Will Levis or Malik Henry, go in there and take over for Tannehill.
Malik Willis, but it might as well be everyone on the Tennessee Titans might as well have the last name Henry, because Derrick Henry is that entire offense at the end of the day. But yeah, what they really should have done, in my opinion, is went out and dropped some good money on a tight end, because that is what Tannehill likes, is throwing to his tight end. But hey, there's a reason I'm not an NFL GM, let's be honest. So that was our episode today for our 2023 NFL Hot Takes. Thank you all so much for watching. Keep in tuned until next week, when we don't know exactly what we're going to talk about, but it'll probably be something with training camp, because
we'll have something to come up
now
with.
Training camps will be rolling and going. But until then, don't forget
to eat the W.